about this panel right now on my Facebook. Hold on, wait, let me take a picture. Hold on. One moment. Wait, how do I take a picture? Why are you not working?
Hey, me too.
Wait. I can work my phone, I promise. Gotta get selling. I don't know if I can do this.
Yeah, networks.
Alright, everybody! Now I can post it with a picture. How cool is that? And then you guys will be like, it's like live. I'm doing this right now because I think it's funny. Yes. Uploaded. Yes. Okay. Can you guys hear me okay? Do I need the mics? Yeah. Mike? Okay.
Mike, please.
Is this mic good? I just broke my collar. Awesome. Mike? Hello? Is this better?
Yeah.
You guys can hear me in the back? Okay, great. Awesome. Well, thank you all so much for coming. My name is Yaya, and I have been cosplaying for a really long time. I actually started cosplaying in '99, and my first A-Kon was in 2000. And I came here actually as a volunteer because I was super poor, and I was super young, and I had no idea how to even get to convention. But A-Kon even back then, 2000, had a really great reputation, and it was like one of those conventions that you knew as a cosplayer that you had to go to. So I volunteered in the green room, like so I like help lay out snacks and make sandwiches and everything. And yeah, and that's how I got to A-Kon for the first time. And I've actually been coming, I think, every year except maybe one or so. So it's been about 14 years since I've been coming here. So I feel like a very special bond with A-Kon because of this. And so of course this panel today is called The Past, Present, and Future of Cosplay. And I actually debated whether to bring my laptop and show you guys pictures or not. But I actually decided it's better just to have more of a casual conversation about it. And I really want your participation as well. I want to hear from you guys, so please don't be afraid to raise your hand, share your stories. I might ask you questions. Because I think that this topic is, it's something that we, as fans, as anime fans, as geeks, as cosplayers, really need to explore and really need to remember. Like, we have to remember where we came from. We got to remember our roots. I think that's a very important thing about anything that you care a lot about. So I just want to, tell you guys about like how cosplay came to be the way that it is now, and then where it is going in the future. So, like, I'm just gonna sit on there. I don't want to be behind this thing because it's like, I'm good with myself. Okay, all right. Is this okay? Cool? Yeah? Okay. All right. Okay. So, first of all, how many of you have been cosplaying for more than 4 years? Okay. Wait, why is it all on this table? This side. 3 years? Over on this side? 3 years? Okay, a couple. Okay. How many of you have been cosplaying for more than like 6 years? Okay, still a few. How many of you have been cosplaying for 10 years or more?
Almost.
3 hands. Okay, so you guys remember what it was like 10 years ago. And even like in 2004, I mean, cosplay was already fairly developed even back then, I think. I mean, we of course know that cosplay came, it became popular in Japan, but then that the term was actually coined by a journalist who came to the United States and went to Worldcon and saw people dressed up in like Star Trek outfits and such. So it's kind of weird that this phenomenon, this thing called cosplay, even though it came from Japan, actually somewhat originated in the United States. So we've kind of come full circle. But I know that when I started cosplaying, it was, you know, it was a really underground community that, like, we were just all blindly feeling around. Like, we had no idea how to communicate with each other. There was no Cosplay.com, there was no AC Paradise, there was no DeviantArt even, and no Facebook, no Twitter. That's all, you know, completely, that was not even born or thought of. And so for the cosplayers back in 99, 2000, the way that you would communicate with each other was going to conventions. And we also had a mailing list. Like literally, we had a Yahoo mailing list called the Cost mailing list. And if you wanted to know anything, you had to write on the mailing list. You're like, how do I make this? And hopefully somebody responded with, I have no idea, no one's ever done this before, you know? So it's just like, it was all a lot of exploration, a lot of experimenting. But I feel like you really could get to know people and develop friendships when you went to conventions. And there were so few cosplayers in 99 and 2000 that if you saw another cosplayer, you instantly like would gravitate towards them. And so like people really knew each other within the community. They would exchange emails and they would start planning groups together and such. And so it was a small but very tight-knit community. And I think compared to now, there are cosplayers everywhere, and you may, you know, like there's no way for you to get to know all of them. So it's like you'll see how great their costumes look, and you know, you pass them in the hall, but there's no personal connection, you know, unless you know them from somebody, from someone. So I think that's a huge difference between, you know, back then. The thing that was really important back then was also to enter costume contests. How many of you have entered costume contests? Okay, all right, that's not bad. That's really great. Yeah. And did you enter for fun? Like, I want to hear from someone. Why did you enter the contest? Did you enter because you wanted to win, or did you enter because you wanted to do it for fun, or did you like? What was the reason? Somebody for fun. Sure. For fun. Okay, just for fun. Somebody else? Another reason you might have entered?
To get feedback.
To get feedback, that's very nice. Yeah, from the judges or from the audience or from both? Judges and audience, okay. Yes, Karen?
I think for me, at first it was definitely for fun. And then kind of as I entered more contests, it was to meet more people who cosplay, and also to try to kind of improve my costumes. Because like entering the contests kind of motivated me to work harder on things.
Absolutely. I'm so glad you said that, and I feel the same way. And I think that as cosplayers who started a long time ago, for us, there was really no other way to express how much we love cosplay except to enter contests. You know, like we didn't have photo shoots. Like no one did photo shoots. Period. No one did cosplay photo shoots. Like there was no way to share your costume photos online. Like there were a few cosplayers that made GeoCity website. Does anybody remember GeoCity? I had a GeoCity website. And so it was like, there was just no way to show people your work except to enter a contest. And like Karen said, for a lot of the cosplayers of my generation, I feel like it was a way for us to improve ourselves. And so I want to, you know, I want to emphasize that even though costume contests are not the end-all be-all of cosplay now, they were the foundation of what cosplay became here, because they were the reason why people would meet each other, and they were the reason why they would become friends and do a group together, and they were the reason why cosplayers would try to improve themselves and really, you know, try to make better costumes. And awards were great, but it was really about going on stage and showing off your work, because there was no other outlet. And so I think that's really important to remember. Like, whatever costume contests may have become now, they really shaped the community as we know. And a huge step forward was in the early 2000s when conventions here in the States, anime conventions, I will say, because comic book conventions are kind of, they're still trying to sort it out, but anime anime conventions specifically started paying more attention to cosplay. So they would start actually having cosplayers do panels, and they would actually ask cosplayers to judge the costume contest, which was very new and very progressive. Because back in the 90s, it was costume contests were judged by the guests of the convention, but because all the guests of the convention were voice actors or artists or anime producers, mostly voice actors, they would be the one judging the contest, and they would have no idea how a costume was made. And there would be no craftsmanship judging. People would just walk on stage, do a skit or something, whatever they wanted, and the actors and they would pick whoever they thought, I don't know, was the funniest or had the flashiest costume and stuff. And so I think a huge change and a huge reason why the US community has become what it is that conventions themselves started to realize what cosplayers would bring to their events. So they would, they started to realize that there was a knowledge, there was a thirst for knowledge to know how something was made. So if a cosplayer would win a lot of contests, for example, then they would be asked to maybe judge the next contest. And that's actually how I became a judge is, Animagic 2001. That was like the first convention that actually invited me out, had me do my first cosplay panel, which was really, really scary, and had me judge the contest. And it was just like such a crazy, it was an honor. It was an honor to be like, I get to judge my peers because I know what they go through. I know how hard it is to make a costume. I know how nervous they must be to be on stage. And I think that is a really amazing improvement that these days most costume contests are being judged by cosplayers. So, I saw a hand, yes. Did you want to add something?
When did you realize this was more than just a hobby for you? What costume was it?
When did I realize this was more than a hobby? Well, that's definitely, I don't know. I honestly don't know. I think it wasn't a specific costume that made me realize this wasn't a hobby. It was the fact that people kept asking me to make stuff for them. Like there came a point where, people kept asking, can you make me Lulu's accessories? Can you make me this costume? Can you make me these wings? And at some point I was like, sure, okay, let me try it, yeah, sure. And then I would make stuff and I would still work my salary job. And I would put in 80 hours a week, making my own costumes, making stuff for other people and working. And then at some point I'm like, why am I doing this? And so it was beginning of 2005 when I actually quit my job. And that was a terrifying time. I had quite a few rough months where it was just panic, just how do I survive? And I think with any artist who is sort of, going into a field that is brand new, that really has not been explored before, that's what it is, the uncertainty, because you're basically jumping off a cliff and you just hope that you're going to land in water and not on rocks. But I think 2005 is it was kind of a pivotal year because Cosplay.com was just starting to really take off, and I don't know. Do you guys remember Cosplay.com?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Do you remember how great it used to be?
Yeah.
It's such a pity. So, but yeah, I loved Cosplay.com. I loved posting stuff on there. I loved getting feedback from other cosplayers. I loved meeting cosplayers through it. And I think it really brought the community closer. And DeviantArt is another reason I think cosplay around the world has become much closer, because you would see, you see a lot of great photos from Asia, from, Russia and Hungary and all these places where you don't even know that cosplay is happening. And but you see what they do, and you see the great photography, and you're just like, oh my god, there's a thriving community over there too. And I think the fact that DSL cameras became very affordable, when Canon came out with the Rebel, that was very life-changing, I think, for cosplayers, because beforehand, you could only get good photos if you knew a photographer student or if you knew someone who was a photographer. And so every once in a while, like, you would see like on Model Mayhem or One Model Plays or something, like somebody doing a cosplay photo shoot. And usually it's just like, okay, you know, just like, oh, she must be dressed like a fairy or something. And then when DSL cameras became available, then people could afford them and people could actually go out and take photos of each other. And I know a lot of people that like used to be cosplayers that sort of got into photography and started actually just doing photo shoots of others, or you know, who were maybe like significant others of a cosplayer, and then just out of sheer practicality, sort of picked up photography, realized they had a knack for it, and started doing photo shoots. And I think that's like the power was shifted to the cosplayers. Like we all of a sudden could showcase our work, and you know, we had a community like cosplay.com where we can post photos, so that gave us a reason to make more costumes, do more photo shoots, and AC Paradise as well. Also Cosplay Lab. Oh my God, Cosplay Lab.
Oh wow.
Yeah, like I remember that. It used to be on there. So I think like the fact that we had community websites, that conventions started paying more attention to cosplayers, and there was a way for cosplayers to communicate with each other more and take better photos. That's when I think the middle of the 2000s was kind of the golden age. Like I call it the golden age of cosplay, because it was just like this explosion of creativity, and people would learn new things and share with each other. Like Katie Bear would started posting tutorials about wigs, and Amethyst Angel. Anybody remember Amethyst Angel? She used to be the first person to write tutorials on foam armor, like EVA foam armor. She even wrote a book about it. And she would make all this amazing armor out of craft foam, and people were like, how? And then she would start sharing how she did it, and then somebody would learn how to dye wigs with Sharpie and alcohol, and would share that. And it was just like, whenever someone found a new technique, it was like, it was shared, and then more people would expand upon it, and it was like this Renaissance phase. Like, we all just sort of loved dressing up and loved making costumes, and it was not about fame, it was not about making money, it was not about, you know, getting somewhere with it. It was like truly this passion and this amazing lifestyle. And I think because the community was still small and it was still somewhat underground, that it sort of banded the cosplayers together a bit, because we were sort of seen as still a little bit of outcasts, you know, for the mainstream. Like, we still were a little bit not quite there, and you know, of course, all good things have to come to an end. It's like, you can't always stay like that, and that's the progression of life. Like, anytime something becomes popular, there's a lot that goes with it. So before I continue to talk about the presence of cosplay, anybody want to add something to their experiences in the past of cosplay? Anything that you found is very profound or that changed a lot, something I didn't touch on, or do you want to share a story or something?
I'll share.
Yes, sure, please.
I remember way back when I was like in 5th grade, way back, that my dad had tried to teach me how to sew, and I didn't want to learn. And when I got into cosplay, I wanted to learn, and then he didn't want to teach me because he didn't like the culture.
Right.
And so he had come home, and I was like slaving over the sewing machine, trying to get this down, and he had looked at my best friend who has a degree in fashion design, and he was like, I don't understand. He was like, I can't get her to do anything, and now she's making love to the sewing machine. I don't get it. But, and he called me the other day, and he goes, he was asking me what I was doing this weekend, and I was like, well, Dad, I'm going to the same con I go to every year. And he goes, you still do that? But I mean, it makes me, this is where I'm free. This is how I express myself, and I've gotten better every year.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing. That's wonderful. Yeah, I think you nailed it. Like, there was a lot of misunderstanding, a lot of just parents being worried about what their kids are doing, you know, what is this weird thing that you're into, and there was a time of like, God, yeah, like I said, mid-2000s where hentai was becoming more popular. So like, people would like look up anime and it would be all hentai stuff, and they'd be like, no, you're not doing this. Like, no, you're not going anywhere near this. And like, I remember having to like seriously explain like, anime is a media, just like, you know, film. There are films of different genres for kids and for adults. Anime can be for kids and adults as well. But it's like, there's like, oh, these, you know, drawn characters with these giant eyes and big boobs, it's all wrong. No. Yes, you want to share something?
I had some problems, but it was mostly, if it was not hentai, more times it was turned to what, like Pokemon or insert other anime here that was made to sell toys.
Yeah, just a lot of like, people didn't understand what it is that we're into. And I think because of that, actually, like, that's the reason why it used to be that you could share, like, you know, actually, I want to talk about this real quick. It used to be that a girl can dress up in a fairly revealing costume, go to a convention, and guess what? Still feel fairly safe, and still feel like fairly like accepted. Or they can post a picture online, even if they're in a revealing costume, and they didn't have to worry about being ripped to shreds. And I think that is a very, very important thing that we all have to understand, is that it shows that a few years ago, because cosplay was still a small, tight-knit community, the understanding was there. So if you dressed up in a sexy costume, like if you were dressed as, you know, like for me, I dressed as Lum from Urusei Yatsura, a little tiger bikini, and I did Felicia from Darkstalkers back in 2005, and I felt completely safe. Like I could walk around by myself, I could, you know, post pictures, and people were like, oh yeah, that's Felicia from Darkstalkers. And it was because the people that would see your costume, would see what you posted, they were geeks, they were anime fans, they were gamers, and they were cosplayers. So in a way, they understood where you came from. And I think that is a huge difference now, where now you have this whole, you know, cosplay is not consent, and you have to be worried at conventions about being harassed, and you have to worry, like, if you post a picture online that it, you know, doesn't get crazy amounts of horrible comments. And I think that is a huge difference now in cosplays, because it's become so popular that the audience being reached is no longer geeks. It's no longer us. It's now the whole world. And I think as a cosplayer, you have to understand, you know, that this has just changed. This is something that comes with, you know, something becoming mainstream. Like now I have to be a lot more careful. I have to make sure if I'm at a convention, if I wear anything somewhat revealing, that I have, you know, someone with me. And, you know, that if I post something, then I have to be prepared mentally for the comments and not let them get to me. And I think that's just something that I had to work through, like within the last maybe 4 or 5 years, seeing that change happen with Facebook and Twitter. Anybody want to add something to that, by the way? Like, I feel like this is definitely a very important topic to talk about. Let's start back there with you, sir.
I've been cosplaying from old schools like Speed Racers, Wild Star, Star Blazers, etc. It's just that with new generations of anime coming out, you know, you ask yourself, what is it that the audience like? What is it that draws the attention? And can you, like, even if you can't have the time to get the materials and make it up in a certain length of time, what substitutions could you use between old school Otoko to present day what we have now?
Yep, definitely very valid. Any other comments? Yes, ma'am.
I've noticed that even now, with anime being as well known as it is, I still, if I say I'm going to A-Kon, they're like, oh, you like hentai. Oh, you're one of them. That's for kids. I still get to. But I just noticed that it's still looked down upon as to go to a convention to watch the anime, to be involved in it and be excited about it. It's still looked down upon.
We're still in a phase of progression, absolutely. It's gonna keep taking time. It's not gonna happen within the next few years still. So, let's see, someone I haven't heard from yet, lots of hands. Yes, sir.
What do you think, in your opinion, that the cosplay demographic has changed substantially since, say, 2005 and 6 till right now? Is the demographic the same, like nerds, or is it like...
No. Everybody now.
I mean, like, if you like come over here to like A-Kon or something, it's still like the same anime fans, the video game fans, and all that, but you don't see like many outsiders come
Yeah.
into these.
I understand what you're talking about, and yeah, I will talk about that in a second. I want to take a couple more comments if you guys want to add something to, you know, what I was talking about, like people being more understanding about cosplay a few years ago, and you know, just wrap up the past portion. Oh my gosh, so many hands.
So the last A-Kon I did before I came back to the States was like 06.
Oh wow.
And
Yeah,
so
then you saw a big change.
Yeah, so I came back a few years back, and I came back, and it was just a distinctive, the quality went up. I mean, back it was like everyone just like throwing, what can I find in my room? All right, we got this outfit's gonna work. And it was a handful of people, and they always congregated. But then I came back, and I was like, am I at A-Kon? And I talked to one guy, he literally worked out all year so he could make himself look like that character.
Yep.
I mean, just that level of dedication that has gone into it now is crazy. People are working out, toning everything that they can, either it's the outfit, their body, everything that they can make to try to get the ideal image of that character that they're trying to embody. And it was just took me aback when I first came back to A-Kon. I was like, where did all these people come from?
That's great. I love that. Thank you for sharing that. That's wonderful. All right, a couple more comments. Yes, sir.
My first convention was 1976, and back then, cosplay was a set of Spock ears.
Yes. Thank you.
So,
Yes.
I just wanted to say, watching the long-term growth as people began to take that seriously, and you started seeing people with uniforms, it was all homemade. And then when the movies came out, it was, you know, the new uniform, just the people who started going into the other directions, Klingons, I don't know, you know, forget Starfleet, you know.
Yeah.
And just the dedication, it has been a joy to watch, and I just want to say thank you to everybody who's into it. As a fan, it's my favorite part is the cosplay. I just love the creativity, and everyone just loving on fandom, and thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I think you bring up a huge point. Like, you enjoy cosplay at conventions. And I think that is where cosplay has developed to now, is we're no longer just attendees, we're part of the entertainment. We're part of the reason why people come to conventions. And when people come to cons, they expect to see cosplayers. And they expect it to, you know, if they perceive a convention as being really great, you bet your asses that cosplay is involved. Like, you bet that there is a lot of cosplay going on, there's a lot of programming about cosplay going on, and there are a lot of people in costume. Because we add to the atmosphere of the convention, you know, we add more vibrance, we add a lot more, you know, insta feels and insta love for characters, and it's just, it's an amazing form of expression, and now it's become part of the attraction of going to conventions. So I think that's really amazing. Did you want to say something?
I was going to say, kind of on the same subject, whenever you start, you know, you have a lot of conventions in the Dallas area and the comic conventions as well, and you start seeing the same cosplayers, you know, year after year, it's, you know, it kind of gives a good feel to it.
You get to see them improve. You get to, like, I've watched cosplayers, you know, I've met cosplayers when they first started, made their first costume, entered their first contest, and then the next year they would enter again in a better costume, win a bigger award, until they would enter again and win Best in Show. And it's amazing to see the progression and see the improvement that people make and just like how much they've developed their techniques. And Karen is one of them. I remember you forever. Like, I remember you in your first costume. I remember you when you wore your first Best in Show. I was there. So it's like, that's what is really amazing to me, is to just see how people are able to, you know, really let the creativity take over and keep finding new ways and new characters and new techniques. And I think that's the core essence and the core foundation of cosplay to me. But to talk about the presence of cosplay, obviously it's become very popular, and I think to look at the present state of cosplay, before I get into it, what do you guys think? Where do you guys think cosplay is at the moment? Give me some opinions about where do you think cosplay is right now?
Where I always wished it would be.
Aw, that's very sweet. Yes, sir? Yeah?
I was going to say, it becomes such a part of your convention. I've been coming to A-Kon for about 7 years now. About 2 years ago, I lost every photo I had ever made I got from A-Kon, and a part of me died.
Oh, that's horrible. I'm so sorry to hear that.
But it makes it worth it every year just to come back and you get on it again. It's a driving thing that makes you want to come back and enjoy the con so much.
Very cool. Anyone else want to share like what cosplay is to them right now, the scene, the community? Yes?
I think it's just been really heavily affected with the explosion in the past few years of social media in general. And I would like to see it move beyond what I feel like it is right now.
What do you feel like it's right now?
I often feel like it's a race for likes. Likes and hits, tweets, number of followers. And I would hate for it to ever be the standard of quality to think that the number of likes is equivalent to the quality of your work. And they do not go hand in hand necessarily. Sometimes they do, but not necessarily, though. And I think that there's way too much focus on that right now. And I don't want to see it spill over into the industry of everything from, you know, photography to who is invited to what kind of events to whose advice should I listen to. Well, this person has more likes, I should listen to them, and, you know, or the standard for the way anything should be. So I think that we've still got some growing to do alongside social media, and there's some room for opportunity.
You hit it on the head. We're experiencing growing pains. The entire cosplay community and the geek community is experiencing growing pains right now, and that's natural. It comes with anything that used to be sort of esoteric and sort of like dedicated to only a small group, and all of a sudden becomes mainstream. We're in fractions. Like the cosplay community, I think right now is literally in different fractions. There are different aspects of it and different people that want different things, and unfortunately it's not that tight-knit community anymore. So I want to take a couple more comments. You have a lot of hands, so I want to hear what you guys are saying. Somebody over there, I see 2 hands. Somebody go.
To me, I'm relatively new to it, to cosplay, and to me it's an outlet and an aspiration, because you look online, I mean, there's people like you who are amazing, who've made a career out of this, and you have so many beautiful costumes, and then there's like new people like me, and they're like, okay, let's learn how to sew patterns. So to me, it's a brand new hobby, and it's a goal. It's provided me with, really, it's just, I aspire to be better and better, and it's an outlet of creativity, and it's also a place to meet new people and make new friends who share your interests, because that can be sometimes hard to find, especially on what you like to watch, and you know, some of the obscure, like older stuff or whatever. But I think it's a world, and it's cheesy sounding, but it's really wondrous to see everybody's amazing work, and it's a very creative outlet. So that's what it's me.
That's very true. I think it's so great. I love to hear from, you know, someone who's new at this and has such a great positive outlook on it. And yeah, that's awesome. And you know what? Everybody starts somewhere. You know, we all started somewhere. My first costume was absolutely terrible. You know, I'm like, I should bring it to a con. You guys like ask, like, how do you make these costumes? costume, I should be like, look at this. This is my first costume. Look how terrible it is. I think I'm gonna do that. So it's like, seriously, you start somewhere and you like get better with each costume and you discover something new, and that's what I love, the discovery process. You know, like you level up. Like I see it kind of like this video game. It's like collecting experience, skills, and you level up.
One silver.
Yes. I feel like it's a good time. Like I'm relatively new as well, and I feel like it's a great time to get into everything because there are so many really good tutorials online by artists. Like Cosplay has some really great tutorials and just learning from everybody. It's really easy to be like, how do I make this thing? How do I make that thing? Oh, you just Google it or YouTube it, and there it is. It's
Absolutely.
really helpful.
Huge point of what cosplay is right now is use your resources available because there's so many resources out there. I would have killed for some of these tutorials and some of these materials, like Warbler. I did have Warbler when I started, you know. So it's like to know that there are these amazing wig sellers that basically are cosplayers turned wig sellers, and they make wigs specifically for cosplayers. That's amazing to me, and to know that, you know, that it's like it's all catering now to what we want. The colors available in wigs, the materials available, and, you know, tutorials out there with YouTube and DeviantArt, and so it's like it's very easy to get into cosplay right now. And I love it when I see someone really take the knowledge and just run with it and not be afraid to, you know, put in the hard time to research it. So that's really fantastic. Any other comments about what you feel like the current state of cosplay is like? My goodness, my goodness. I will take you, and then I'll go over here.
I have just started cosplaying since A-Kon 23, and a lot of what I've noticed is every year I see more and more stuff get better, like more detailed, like your armor is amazing, and I've seen that people can be a little harsh though when you're first starting out. It's not necessarily that they appreciate the effort and the fact that you enjoyed it. They look down like, that's what you got, or they have a specific image of what you need to look like, especially as a female, how your cosplay should look.
Absolutely. I think I feel like I'm a broken record on this topic. But, you know, despite however I was portrayed on Heroes of Cosplay, whatever, but it's like, for me, I've always, for 15 years, always advocated that anyone can cosplay and that you should never let anything stop you, be it your body type, be it your height, be it your weight, be it your skin tone, be it your ethnicity. And I feel like in my years, I've sort of, you know, I've sort of proven it to myself that you can cosplay whatever you want. Like, I'm dressed as Snow White right now. Snow White is not Asian, but it was like I wanted to make this costume. I really loved the design. I wanted to do it, and yes, when I put this costume online, put the photos online, yes, there were. I think the first picture I posted, there were like 500 comments, and a surprising percentage of them were all about how I am the wrong ethnicity for Snow White. Someone called me Snow Yellow.
Someone gets honors on the line.
So it's like, but I have done this for long enough. Like I have like dinosaur skin. It rolls off my back. It does not bother me. You know, I saw the comment. I was like, yeah, whatever. I didn't even delete it. I didn't even ban them. I was just like, whatever. Because I understand why they make these comments. And like you said, the audience now expects you to look a certain way. And I think that's so prevalent. And I think as any cosplayer, you have to understand there will be criticism out there, especially right now with social media. And you have to take the time to understand why there is the criticism. You have to know that now the audience is beyond just us geeks. It's the entire world. Anybody can see a photo on Facebook that somebody liked, that somebody shared. They may not have any idea about the character you're dressing up as, about the series. They may not even know what cosplay is. Or even if they know what cosplay is, maybe all they've seen are, I don't know, the porn stars going to conventions now dressing up as costume, or they've seen like, you know, certain types of cosplay, and in their mind, they only look at you for the face value. That's what you have to know as a cosplayer. What the comments are the comments being said about you are not really about you. They are really about the person making the comments. And if they have, for example, an idea of what Wonder Woman should look like, then if you don't fit that ideal, then they're going to say something, because that's human nature. And especially if you love a character very much, and you really you idolize that character, you grew up with that character, you have it in your head what that person needs to look like. And just like Ben Affleck being announced as Batman has all these people saying, he should not be Batman, a cosplayer posting a picture online, if they don't look exactly like the character, guess what? You'll get the same exact thing. It's just people being like, I love this character so much, that person doesn't look like the character. I'm on my phone and it takes me 1.3 seconds to type this comment up and hit send. And it's like before they even realize it, before they can even think about that you're a human being in the picture, they've hit send and the comment is online. So as long as you understand that, it's almost like telepathy. If you have a thought in your head, in this day and age, especially in the geek community and cosplay, you have a thought in your head, it's online. It's going to be sent before you even realize it. So if you get a bad comment, if someone says you don't look like that character or your costume should have been made better, don't let it bother you. Just move on. Try to just move on and realize that their comment is about themselves and what they like. It's not about you. And that they don't understand that you just love a character, that you're allowed to dress up as a character no matter what you look like. There is absolutely no difference between someone wearing a t-shirt of their favorite character and dressing up as their favorite character. We're all trying to express something here. We're expressing that we're a fan of somebody or some character or some series or some genre, and that's all it is. And so for me, it's like the way that I'm able to continue cosplaying is I hold on to what it is that makes me love cosplay. I try to find characters to cosplay that I have a connection with, and that no matter what I hear from other people, I personally will still have that, bond with the character. So, sorry that was a rant. Anyone else want to share something that you didn't get to share before? Yes, sir, we've got you.
Yeah, talking about the present, cosplay has a business where companies are mass producing costumes, and on one spectrum it's great because people get to experience cosplay at conventions by buying these because they don't have the time or experience to do this. And I just want to get your thoughts on original costumes versus mass-produced costumes.
Absolutely, great point. I was going to bring that up, and I think it's a huge reason why cosplay has exploded. It's because now it's become an industry. It has become a literally economic industry. There are companies that are able to make a living, either making costumes for others, like custom-made costumes, commissions, or they're overseas and they just like mass-produce costumes and sell them on eBay. And yeah, when I started, there were no costumes on eBay. There were like barely any wigs and shoes on eBay. Like you could not buy a costume. If you wanted to have a costume in 2000, you had to make one. Or you had to get your mom or grandma to make it. So now you see everybody's dressed up in costume. And before I continue, I want to say that there is absolutely nothing wrong with buying a costume. It is completely 100% awesome, great. Put it together, have fun with it. Buy a costume if you want to. Do not ever feel like you're not a real cosplayer because you bought a costume instead of making it. Because there's no rule to cosplaying. You can do whatever you want. And I think it's great that some people are really able to support others in purchasing costumes. Like I have friends who do commissions, and I know the girls from Arta Wigs, and they wouldn't have a job if people didn't purchase stuff from them. And even from me, I wouldn't be able to make a living if you guys didn't like my products and like the wings over there and such. So it's I think that's really great to support other artists. At the same time, I've always been of the belief that if you make something yourself, it is the complete experience. And I think that's what I always tell people. It's like, if you want to buy a costume, go ahead, But if you want to experience what it's like to really, you know, to really like wear something that you made from scratch and that you can be really proud of, you know, try to make a costume or try to make a piece on a costume. Like if you don't want to make the whole thing, buy most of it, put it together, but make one piece on it. And just being able to wear that one piece, it makes you feel amazing. It's like this magical thing where you're just like, I made my hat. It's like, you know, it's like I'm extra proud of it because I made it. And, but of course, cosplay being, like you said, a business now, industry, it sort of muddles the water a little bit because with anything, as long as when money is involved, things change. So now you have, you know, people who are trying to get into cosplay as a career and trying to find different avenues to make money with it. And I am all for going after your dreams and, you know, finding something you love to do and making it into a living. But I think because cosplay is an art form, it truly, genuinely, it's an art form. There is no difference between making a costume than painting or drawing or sculpting, anything. Like, and if you really want to make an art your living, you have to make sure that you do it for yourself, that you do it for the reason of the art. Because if you do it because you think it's a fast way to gain popularity or it's a fast way to make some money, you know, as a girl, if you want to start selling prints and, you know, hopefully like become an idol in that sense, you have to make sure that no matter what it is you want, that the core of it is the art form itself. Because otherwise you will burn out. Because it's like, you can only do something that you don't like or that you don't really enjoy for so long before it gets to you and you move on or you find shortcuts. And so I think the most successful business owners in cosplay, as with any other art form, they're the ones that really are just 100% about the art itself. And then the success or the whatever income, that will all come with it. That comes naturally after you put in and you hone your art. And I know it's not the most eloquent way to express it, but that's, like, people ask me, like, what's the secret to your success? Or how do I become a famous cosplayer? Or how do I get to where you are? And I'm like, I never set out to do this to be famous or to be, you know, do this even for a living. I never thought this was going to happen. And so for me, it's been this long, very, very arduous journey. And, you know, it's like, I tell people I'm the worst person to ask how to do this for a living because I took 15 years. Like, ask someone else who took like 2 years. You know, like, I took literally the stupidest, longest route that you could possibly imagine to get to where I am. But I think it continues to prove to myself that I am doing this for the art. And that's why I don't mind all the negative stuff or all the, you know, whatever burdens that come with it, because that good always outweighs the bad. So that's my huge, big advice to you guys if you ever want to do anything artistic like cosplay for a living. Like, make sure you do it for yourself. Anyone else before we continue on to, I don't know, what time is it?
4 o'clock.
4 o'clock, okay. Dang. Okay, 15 minutes. We can talk about the future, yes. Okay. Yes, sir.
My experience is probably a bit different than most people in here. About 3 years ago, one of my teenage sons talked me into going with him to an anime convention. And they're really into anime. And to make a, you know, what could be a long story short, because of going to the convention, seeing the environment, seeing all the people there, seeing the cosplayers, they got me interested in helping them build costumes. So now I go to conventions and I go to all the costuming panels and learn new techniques, and then we build the costumes together and they wear them most of the time. I keep saying I'm going to build one for myself, but I never find the time to do it.
Because you're too busy building them.
But it's a real good experience for me and my kids. If you have parents, try to talk to me to go into a convention with you sometime to see what it is. Because it's a very good experience.
Absolutely. It's great. And I will, it's like, we're talking about the presence of cosplay. I have to bring up Heroes of Cosplay real quick. Have you guys seen the second season? Yeah. See how fast it is? Yeah. See how a little bit of editing makes a huge difference? Yeah. Like, seriously, it's like, it's not even the same it's like, but no matter what, the point, like whether you like the show or not, yes, it's like it's all about competition. Trust me, I wish it wasn't about competition. Whether you like the show or not, you have to admit that it's put cosplay on the map. Like shows like that, King of the Nerds, Big Bang Theory, any geeky shows, they are helping to spread the word. They're getting more people interested in cosplay. There are so many people that have told me that their parents used to not like what they did, and then they watched the show, and now they're obsessed with the show, and now they want to cosplay with their kids. And, you know, or they totally are supportive now. And I think that's really, in the end, that's really all it is. It's like, we have a show about cosplay on TV. You know, it is spreading what it is that we love, and it's at least, you know, putting it on the map. And so I think, hopefully in the future, I feel like shows like this will really help the cosplay community in general. Because if anything, it shows how much work goes into the costumes. It shows that they're not just bought, they're actually handmade. And to enter a contest, you make a costume, you know, and then you show off your work to the judges, and you know, hopefully we'll get recognized for it. And even if you don't, you know, get some great feedback. And I guess to me, it's just, it was a reason I wanted to be a part of the show, despite all the craziness that happened and how difficult and very stressful it was. It was so that I could help educate people that don't know about cosplay, about what it is. And hopefully that's, you know, somewhat of the goal achieved. And yeah, I mean, anybody want to add something? I saw some murmurs. Yes, ma'am.
I've been playing video games forever. They've been coming, this is their third year, this is my first year. This is my first dress up, period. I love Heroes of Cosplay. Do y'all really throw stuff together in a week?
Yeah.
And then isn't that amazing?
Okay, so about the last minuteness, I will say that the conventions that we choose to go to, basically the production chooses them, and they like both seasons, they basically, the producers, they call me up or they email me, they're like, Yaya, which cons should we go to? I'm like, these are the cons that I think you should go to, because, you know, these are the cons that are really great and, you know, take care of cosplay, whatever. And, you know, I'm not part of the producing team, I'm literally just a cast member, but because I've gone to so many conventions, it just makes sense for them to ask me which ones they should go to. I tell them, and then they try to get in touch with the cons and get the con to agree to let us go there, or to negotiate some sort of a whatever. And therein lies the issue, is that not every convention wants to accommodate a camera crew. Not every convention wants, you know, even if they want the show there, they may not agree to some of the terms, like letting them backstage and film the judging, and, you know, they may be like, well, we only judge this certain way, the show needs to see craftsmanship judging, whatever. And so a lot of times, we literally don't know what cons we go to until a week beforehand. But that doesn't mean that I don't prepare ahead of time. Like, I basically, the way that I've gone through the show is I make the costumes I want to make. If they want to film it, they can film it. If they don't want to film it, then, you know, I don't need to be in that episode. I don't care. You know, like, so I never let them dictate what I'm making. And I think some of the other cosplayers, the newer, you know, the new cast, they didn't know that, because of course the production is like, we want to capture everything. Please don't make anything until we're there. But because they don't quite know what it's like to make a costume and how long it takes, they think they can capture the whole costume making process in the 4 hours they're going to be at your house. That's not going to happen. So some of the cast members didn't know to start their costumes beforehand. They wanted to wait to find out what cons we were going to. You know, whereas I kept trying to tell them, just start on your costume, make what you want, and then just let them film it. And so I think, like, for a couple of them, yes, they had to put something together in about 3 to 4 days. But for me, I've always, like, come on, I've been doing this for long enough. Like, I've always prepared ahead of time. I just started making stuff, and then really the only costume I had to rush was the one that you'll see in the last episode, the Banshee Queen from Lineage 2. That's the only one I had to rush, because they basically were like, we really want to see this costume. And I'm like, I'm only halfway done. It's only a week. So,
Well,
yeah.
it's amazing to see what you guys can, you're so talented to be able to put something together that looks that amazing so quickly?
Yeah, it depends. It depends. I wanted to say real quick, because we're running short on time, about your comments about the race for likes. I just wanted to say I agree with you completely that unfortunately, because of Facebook and Twitter, now there's no need anymore to build a website. It used to be that cosplayers, if they wanted to have a voice online, they had to build a website. They had to build a website and have a portfolio, and I learned HTML before I found Dreamweaver. Like literally, my first website was made entirely with HTML coding that I had to learn. It looked horrible, but it was a website. And so with Facebook, obviously now anybody can make a page. And unfortunately, you know, the first thing you see is how many people have visited it, how many people follow it. And so it is a very difficult thing to understand that, you know, likes do not equal quality or do not equal knowledge or do not equal expertise. And we are sort of in a phase right now where conventions, especially comic book conventions, like anime conventions not so much, but comic book conventions, there are so many of them. They are inviting cosplayers based on, you know, how much following they have because they have to get ticket sales. And that makes sense. Like, that makes sense to get, you know, ticket sales in and invite people that will bring people in, whatever. But I think there definitely, I hope in the future there will be a distinction between the idols that are just, you know, like, you know, beautiful girls in beautiful costumes that have, you know, fans, and then between the experts, the people that are the craftsmen, the people that really are, you know, able to judge a contest and really, you know, give some panels on craftsmanship. So hopefully in the future that will sort of develop in that sense. Are we running out of time?
The sound is kind of...
Mic
I
sound.
came in to make sure that everyone can hear you.
Is it okay?
The battery is dead.
We'll keep going, because we're short on time. Yes, sir.
Your wig, did you make that wig or did you tint that wig?
This wig? No, that's from Gothic Galudo Wigs.
I was looking at the tinting and it's just masterful. I was curious.
The wig is black. Does it
It's
look?
really not. It's got highlights of blue and it creates a blue halo around your face and
Are
it
you
brings
sure?
up your
I
eyes.
think it might be. Well, thank you. But
Looks,
no, Gothic Galudo
looks
Wigs.
black to me.
So anyway, about the future of cosplay, I think cosplay will continue to, thank you. I think cosplay will continue to be more mainstream. I think the fact that blockbusters about superheroes are being made and now, you know, TV shows about even secondary characters in superhero franchises are being made. I think it's a sign that, you know, it's going to keep booming. Like, it's the geek culture, like, we're taking over the world right now. And cosplay will continue to grow with it. And now you see, like, certain gaming companies are hiring cosplayers, vote for them, like Pikmin Link, she has cosplayed Link for, God, like 14, 15 years, and now she works for Nintendo. It's like their official Link, and I was like so proud of her, and I'm like, there's nobody who deserves this more than you. You've loved this character and cosplayed this character for over 10 years, and now the company that made the character, you know, hired you. I'm like, go you. And so hopefully we will see more of that. Like Riot Games, they make League of Legends. They're very interested in cosplayers. They're very supportive of cosplayers. And so I think that's really great. Because for us, it's all about getting the recognition from the people that made the characters. You know, like that's what we want. We just want, you know, we want to love a character and be able to get like the feedback of, man, you did awesome. And so hopefully as we continue to grow, the focus will shift more towards craftsmanship. Hopefully, you know, it will be more about the art itself. And I just want to say, no matter what you think cosplay will be or where the community is going, as long as you do it for yourself and do it for your own personal enjoyment, that is all that matters. Like if you cosplay not for the end goal of reaching something, or being a guest, or getting, you know, whatever. If you're cosplaying for the journey itself, for the making of the costume, and, you know, the art itself, and to express how much you love the character, I think that is where the longevity is. And that's what I want to hopefully instill in all cosplayers out there is the way to continue the community and to make it better is to, you know, keep doing it for the fun of it and for the creativity of it. And hopefully we will all grow together. And hopefully we'll make better costumes and cooler costumes and, you know, be able to see each other again here. And hopefully next year you guys will all be in costume. Right? Maybe. Yeah.
Spot ears.
There you go, spot ears. So I think that's really what it is. So hopefully to the future of cosplay, may it be a very bright one. I think I just about got on time and appreciate you guys coming. From here on, I'm actually going to be signing in the autograph area, so because there was like too much of traffic jam at my booth. So if you guys want me to sign something or to take a photo with me, come to the autograph area, not my booth, because they don't want me there. Hopefully tomorrow I can be at my booth again. I think tomorrow I can, but today, for the rest of the day, I'll be in the autograph. Thank you again.